Developing today, growing fears over King Charles's health after he makes another emotional appearance at a cancer hospital as reports grow behind the scenes that William is preparing for power. So this was Charles at the hospital in Birmingham yesterday. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favor, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
The King is still undergoing treatment himself. He met Matthew Shinder, who has prostate cancer. He told the King that his condition was now at an advanced stage.
There's always hope down the road. Of course. I'm sorry about that, it's so frustrating.
The King was also curious about hospital rules.
But do they allow you a tiny dram of whiskey occasionally? Yes. No, sir. I knew I should have brought one.
Jacqueline Page had first met the King almost 50 years ago.
I've met you before.
Today, at hospital, they shared their thoughts on the perils of aging.
It don't work so well, do they, once you get past 70?
Lady Colin Campbell, I mean, in some ways, this was a very sad scene, a very emotional scene. Charles had to cancel that hospital opening initially because he was suffering from cancer very badly. He's obviously back at work now. His courtiers say, oh, he's doing a full load of duties until the end of the year, business as normal. But behind the scenes, we're told that is not the case, Lady C. I mean, he is quite clearly suffering the side effects of his treatment. And during that visit, Lady C, he said to the man with the advanced prostate cancer, there's always hope down the road, which seems to be this positivity that the King is taking on. But what are you hearing? Because a lot of people, I mean, I had Tom Sykes on from the Royalist Substack last week, and he says that there is just a mainstream media cloak of silence now over the truth in regards to the monarch's health.
Well, Dan, I want to be very careful what I say. But the King is receiving cutting-edge treatment, and obviously, when you live with cancer, you live with it with the understanding that what is a successful treatment today or tomorrow may turn out to be ineffective day after tomorrow, next week, next month. And will there be another cutting-edge treatment that will replace it and work? There's always that uncertainty that you know, it's maintaining the status quo for the moment, and hopefully it will continue down the line. But everybody knows with most cancer treatments, they stop working after a certain time. Now, there are tremendous cancer treatments available today, and there are loads of cutting edge stuff going on at the moment. And of course, Charles has the absolute best treatment and access to the best. And he's very adventurous in terms of our health and holistics. And I mean, he's in some ways a very ideal cancer patient. But everybody is aware about living with cancer, that the axe could fall next week, next month, or 5 years from now. And if there is something that will work next week, next month, or 5 years from now, great. But there's never a guarantee once one thing stops working that another will work. So you are aware of your mortality, and you are aware of the fact that the axe could fall at any time. And so I think people need to be aware of that, but it's not unique to the king. His form of cancer is particularly treatable, and his progressed condition, to put it tactfully, is also very responsive to treatment. But that doesn't mean that because it is today, it's going to be 2 years from now or 2 months from now. And also, when you have cancer and you have to live with cancer, you are more vulnerable to the ordinary conditions, the ordinary little illnesses that you and I might be able to get over readily, but they can be fatal for them. So he's living with all of that. And I think at the moment there is a big blackout from the palace, and they don't want anybody speaking about it. And I can understand that, because, it's if you have to live with a medical condition, you really don't want people speaking about it constantly. So just from Charles's point of view, it makes sense. But also, I think the palace don't really want the constant reminder, not only on humane grounds, but on practical grounds. And so there is a bit of a blackout insofar as the mainstream media are concerned. And I mean, Tom Sykes, he's very well connected, as you and I know. But he fell foul of the palace by just mentioning something perfectly anodyne.
Well, yeah, and saying that the cancer was incurable, which is, of course, something that we have both reported here.
And I mean, any fool knows it's incurable. When the palace have to announce that Charles is living with cancer, that means it's incurable. And so I mean, I get why they're doing what they're doing, but I also think they are slightly naive and maybe even unrealistic in their goal in trying to wrap the whole thing in cotton wool.
Well, the problem is, Lady C, it's a different era, isn't it? It's a different era. It's an era where no one trusts the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't control the agenda. And there are channels like yours, Lady Colin Campbell on YouTube, like us here on Outspoken. And of course, we are sensitive. I mean, you in particular are very sensitive. I think from my point of view, Lady C, I always take the belief that you can't cover things up, because the mainstream media, the reason they have lost the trust and faith of the public for so long is that they have covered things up for so long. So personally, I would much prefer a system like that at the Vatican, where they are very honest about the health of the Pope, because they understand that succession planning needs to take place and that it impacts the public. Or, for example, the White House, where there's meant to be transparency, although we saw over the Biden administration that didn't happen. So there's definitely a debate going on about that. But I think the other issue is we can just see it with our own eyes. We know Charles isn't well. Then at the same time, Lady C, there is now a real shift in the power dynamic towards William and the court of William. And we know it's going on. I mean, Michael Gove is quoted within this new Valentine Lowe book saying that William is becoming increasingly politically engaged, very aware of what he wants and changes that he wants. And there also appears to be a growing acceptance within the court of King Charles III that he will have a short reign. And again, I'm not being horrible by saying that, because in some ways that's the reason why Charles is so determined to be seen, to actually take some quite significant risks with his health, Lady C, because as you rightly point out, he is more vulnerable now, but he knows that he has a lot to do in, unfortunately, a relatively short period of time.
Well, you're absolutely right about pretty much all of that, because the fact of the matter is that what is happening with Charles and William is what happened with Queen Elizabeth II and Charles, because for the last 10 or so years of her reign, there was an increasingly, there was a soft regency that increasingly became where power was shifting from Elizabeth to Charles. So this is a situation that is being replicated, because just as how for the last decade of the late Queen's reign, everybody was aware of the fact that she couldn't live forever. The fact is that because Charles his health is compromised, there is the perception that nobody can live forever, but the likelihood is his reign, he's not going to be around for the next 30 years. He's not going to do he's not going to do what his grandmother did. He's most likely not even going to do what his parents did. The likelihood is he's not going to live till his mid and late 90s. So there's an acceptance of reality, and power does shift. And anybody who knows anything about history knows that as one reign winds down, the power shifts to the successor, and it's perfectly natural. And an awful lot of people not only jump ship, they never actually board the old vessel. They make sure that they're in position so that when the new vessel comes to dock, they are first in queue to jump on the gangplank and board the ship. So I think that's what's going on, and it's a perfectly natural thing. And I think where I think you do have a strong point is that people are very sophisticated nowadays. People are, largely due, ironically enough, to social media and the internet, because the internet is the great Library of Alexandria brought to life for the first time since the time of Julius Caesar. And it's just what it is.
Exactly. I mean, this is part of life. Of course it is. But Lady C, what I don't think that we can deny is that there are, and this is where I think Tom Sykes has been very brave, and of course he has been thrust out of the International Royal Rota as a result. And I have huge respect for him actually for doing this, Lady C, because there is significant tension behind the scenes between the court of King Charles and the court of Prince William. Like, that is a fact. There are lots of tensions. There are lots of difficulties at the moment between father and son. Now, William, I think, is trying to be as respectful as possible. Of course he is. But I don't know. I feel like it is my duty to report what I know about that. And I think Tom Sykes is doing the right thing by reporting about that too.
Well, I wouldn't argue with either of you. You are the reporters and you have a duty to report. And if you choose to report, you should report. And as long as you are not reporting inaccurately, I think that you are fulfilling your duty as reporters. So it's, I mean, I think to an extent the palace publicity department or communications department, however you want to put it, they have always been very naive and they have always been somewhat inept. As I told Donald McCabe about 2 years ago, I said, you're just damn lucky that you don't work at Castle Goring, otherwise I'd pitch you out by your as if you were a piece of garbage. I mean, really, that's how inept they are. And I think that this lot isn't shaping up to be much better. And but this is the way it is. So,
Lady C, I wanted to talk to you about Princess Diana because I read your fascinating post on X about her death and your recollections, your very personal recollections about your death. And I recommend everyone follow Lady C on X to hear about it. But you are putting the other side of the argument, which is gathering a lot more steam at the moment, in part because of Tom Sykes and his public position on this via the Royalist Substack, and also because of Prince Harry and his personal views. And that is this idea that Princess Diana was almost certainly unalived, murdered. You say it's hard to believe, but actually her death was much more ordinary than that. But first, we've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now one doctor says, that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixers on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. He says they hardly make a dent on your appearance. Some, check this out, can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices so he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. He describes it as almost like Photoshop for your face and says you may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public. It's free, it's uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. And he says if it helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, he will be thrilled knowing he helped. The video has since gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. The comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One even commented, best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you. So you can find out more about this yourself right now. Just go to bhmd1.com/outspoken. That's bhmd1.com/outspoken, or click on the link in the description box below. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lake asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. So go watch the video at bhmd1.com/outspoken right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
The fact of the matter is, I did extensive research when I was doing my posthumous biography, The Real Diana. I spoke to absolutely everybody concerned, including Mercedes. And I believe in following the evidence. And I believe in letting the evidence tell you what happened. You enter with a clear mind and you leave with a clear view, evidentially based. And there is no doubt in my mind that it was a genuine accident, and it was caused by the airbags deploying as the Mercedes clipped the Fiat as it was entering into the tunnel. All the evidence couldn't be clearer. There were eyewitnesses on the pedestrian part above the tunnel that heard the engine roaring. Henri Paul put the car into neutral. He had to put the car into neutral because it was in neutral when it collided with the 13th column. And the collision, according to Mercedes, would not have put the car into neutral. He had to put it in. Why did he put it in? Because the airbags deployed early. How do we know the airbags deployed early? Because there was a couple in an old banger, an Algerian couple, in the tunnel in front of the Mercedes that came barreling into the tunnel, the engine roaring, and they sped up to avoid being slammed in the back. And I don't know if you've ever been in an accident where airbags deploy, but it takes about 3 to 5 seconds. I don't remember exactly how long, because I was in an accident in 2016 where the airbags deployed. And so by the time Henri Paul was in the tunnel, he had put the car into neutral. Why did he put it into neutral? Because he was a trained driver in avoiding hostage taking, etc. And he knew that if you put a car into neutral, it controls itself. Well, if you are in control of a car and you don't know where it's going, you can make a mistake. So he neutralized the situation. The problem is, having done that, as the airbags deflate and he sees he's standing a chance of ramming the car in front of him, and remember, it was an old banger bag, he swings out into the other lane to avoid ramming the car. And that's what caused the accident, because the car was still in neutral. And when a car is in neutral, you have little or no control over the steering. And that's what caused the crash. It's as simple as that. The evidence is all there. And I'm not saying there wasn't a cover-up, and I'm not saying there were not always evidence tampered with. I think the evidence was tampered with in terms of Henri Paul's blood work, so that they would be able to have a convenient scapegoat, because the French didn't want to have their reputation tainted. I think it was as simple as that. And also, nobody at the time wanted it to get out that when you have a low speed impact between two cars, you can have the airbags deployed. Because at the time, there was a huge debate all over the world about enforcing seatbelts and with airbags protecting, and the automotive industry and the authorities would have been very concerned that had it got out, that the airbags deployed as a result of the low-grade impact between the two cars, it would have scuppered their chances of having a successful protocol whereby everybody was forced to wear seatbelts. And I think that's it in a nutshell. It couldn't be simpler. The evidence is there for all to see. And I will make the point that if there was going to be a hit, how was there going to be a hit when the only people who knew the route the car was going to take were the 4 people in the car? And it is beyond incredible to expect that there were going to be hitmen deployed all over the many points of access between the Ritz and the Fayed flat. And also, the mere fact is that Diana and Dodi should never have left the Ritz. The only reason why they left the Ritz was that Diana had been tipping off the press as to her activities, as was her wont, and she'd done it that day. She rang them when she was at Albia to tell them she was going to be in Paris. Then, and they knew that she was at the Ritz, because she's the one who had tipped them off that she was going to be in Paris. And once they followed her, they followed her. And she was loving the cat and mouse game, which she had been playing with the press for years. And she loved the whole business of being pursued. It made her feel important. And it made Dodie think, ooh, goodness gracious me, have I not lucked out with this jewel? And so there was all of that going on as well. But the fact of the matter is, they should have stayed at the Ritz. Why did they leave the Ritz to go to the fire department? To create news, to have a chase, so that the paparazzi would get more photographs of them. That's why they did it. It was a massive sort of, well, I think you get my point.
I do. I do. Very, very well put, Lady C. And of course, you have a special edition of your show on the Lady Colin Campbell channel available to your members, marking the 28th anniversary of Diana's death. So subscribe to Lady Colin Campbell on YouTube to watch that in full. Lady C, always love having you on Outspoken, though. Thank you so much. We will speak next week. That is Lady Colin Campbell. And of course, if you do want first access to our Royal Uncancelled After Show here on Outspoken, then please do sign up to my Substack. The address is www.outspoken.live. Paid monthly members get first access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show. It is at least twice the length of the video that you have just been watching, and you get it live or on demand, whichever you prefer. And it is completely free of all advertising. Substack is such an important platform to me. It is a community. You can contact me directly on there. It is a free speech platform, which is why I'm so big on it, because I'm protected from all of the censorship that goes on in the rest of big tech. Plus, they also protect me from lawfare against bad actors like Prince Harry. So I would absolutely love you to be part of the community. www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.